Welcome to Time Out 360. Thank you for showing up. Thank you to all who's following us online on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram. We're happy that you're part of the show today. We every Friday morning we gather together to talk about the agenda for the community. We talk about what's important in terms of politics, economics, social environment, and we basically here listen to our listeners. We listen to our viewers in terms of where we want to take the podcast, what is in the best interest of the community, and how we can help. Today we have with us a distinguished guest. Her name is Latoya Clarke. She was born in Barry, St. Catherine, Jamaica. She moved to Lauderhill, Florida at the age of 13. A graduate of Piper High School, Latoya went on to earn a bachelor's degree in political science from Florida Atlantic University. And for sure, she didn't stop there. She continues to get a master's degree in healthcare management and law from Nova University. With over 20 years of experience in healthcare leadership, Latoya became the youngest hospital director in her organization in 2018. Her responsibilities included managing policies, budgets, and insurance contracts, leading a team of 130 across various departments, and saving millions for her employer through innovative initiatives. Latoya's community service includes roles such as president of the East Sunrise Resident Association, president of the Ballpark Plaza Association, and member of the Sunrise Board of Adjustment. She has successfully advocated for numerous community improvement projects. She is a forward-thinking leader. Latoya Clarke is dedicated to bringing positive change and strong leadership to Sunrise. She is the candidate for Sunrise, the City of Sunrise Commissioner District Seat A. Not really district, but Seat A. She's going to explain to us, obviously, why they call it Seat A, not district, as we usually accustomed to. She's going to introduce herself and explain why she's running for that post. But this is not the reason primarily she's here. She's primarily here to talk about economic development. Economic development has several legs. We can talk about economic development for small businesses. Usually small businesses range with employees under 500. She was going to address issues as well regarding mom and pop businesses. We know mom and pop businesses usually are family businesses where the dad, the mother, the son, the children put their heads together and open a business. It's not as strong as a small business, but they also need support. They also need the focus of the commission. We have a big dream. We would like to see one of the businesses in the community to reach the level to be on Wall Street, to be traded on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. Will that happen for us anytime soon? Will we be able to make it? Obviously, Latoya Clarke will be able to give us an idea how we can make it happen, because others have done it. Why not? Why not us with multiple businesses on the stock exchange? Obviously, this is not where we're going to dive deeply into, but we're going to address these issues one by one with Latoya Clarke. Mrs. Clarke, I'm very happy that you are with us this morning. And we have Jean-Marie Olivier, my colleague, who's going to conduct this interview with you. And we have other colleagues in the background, Roger Pierre and Louis Harry as well. We're proud to have you on the platform this morning. Everybody who's listening, I would really appreciate you to like the show. I really appreciate you to subscribe to the channel and to share it with friends and family so that everybody can benefit from this program. Thank you for watching. Mr. Latoya, I have with me Roger, Jean-Marie Olivier and Louis Harry, and I'd like to welcome both of them on the platform. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Mrs. Latoya Clarke. We are happy to see, especially a Caribbean person that wants to get involved and take the help in politics. Some of us sometimes maybe a little shy, and we seems to just want to come to work and we make our money, we leave, and then maybe have an attitude that we don't care. But it is very important as we see in different women in the community, especially in the Caribbean community, stepping up to the plate. So welcome, Mrs. Clarke.
Thank
Louis,
you.
Harry.
Good morning, Miss Latoya. Yeah, we are very proud
Bonjour.
and happy to have you with us this morning. And we know that we're going to really address the issues of the community because this is very important. Especially, we would like to know how you're going to address those issues in your seat because we're not talking about district and we are positive that our audience, whether they are on the internet or listening over the radio, we are pretty sure that they are going to come out with a lot of good and positive and useful information. So again, good morning.
Good morning. Se passe, bonjour, hello everybody. Thank you for having me today on this podcast. It is really a pleasure to be able to join this community, to be able to talk about things that is affecting each and every one of us as we go through from day to day. You know, in the city of Sunrise, as we all, know it's a bright and beautiful city, but our community is lacking some resources. And so, being able to join the commission there would be able to help each and every one of us, broaden our horizons within the city of Sunrise.
Ms. Latoya, the city of Sunrise, can you give us a little bit of the demographics in the city of Sunrise? Can you break it down maybe into ethnicity, maybe also business wise, or maybe small businesses are in there? Give us a little bit of an overview of the city of Sunrise in your eyes.
So the city of Sunrise is a mixture. So we have a large Caucasian population, we have a large Hispanic population, we have a lot of a Black and Caribbean population as well. So it's a very mixed community that is continuously striving each area. There is a lot, as you talked about earlier, there's a lot of mom and pop shops that are in city of Sunrise as well as a lot of chain stores. Depending on which portion of the city you're in, you would see different aspects of it. So if you're on the east side, you see a lot more of the mom and pop shops. When you go on the west side, you see a lot of more of the chain stores. You see Sawgrass, you see Sam's Club, you see all those big chain stores more on the west side. But on the east side, you'll see more of the mom and pop shops.
Jean-Marie, you have to control your AI. And
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and Mrs. Clark, what got you to get involved into politics? Although that I noticed that you studied at FAU, which is my alma mater, uh,
Wow.
for business management. Um, but I see you have some experience within the health industries, and you did wonderful there as far as managing policies. What made you get into politics after such a successful career in the healthcare industry?
So I was having a conversation with a group of individuals about redeveloping a portion of Sunrise. And I was talking to these individuals and I was talking about the fact that the prices of homes have escalated and the home insurance has risen so high and a lot of people are losing their homes. And this was a big issue to me because as president of the East Sunrise Residents Association, this is an issue that we talk about and we discuss a lot of how we can manage that price increase that is constantly going, considering that individuals are living on fixed income and their salaries are not going up. So they needed to be able to manage it in a more effective manner. And so while I was talking to the individuals, um, uh, these particular individuals were not concerned about it at all. And I was not enthused about that kind of reaction, considering that these were individuals who are, they're the backbone of the community. They may not necessarily make a significant amount of money, but they are still important, valuable individuals. And so I decided to run because of that reason, being able to be that voice for the individuals who needed that voice. Now, bear in mind, these were not people that are on the board right now or the city, but these are the people in general that I was talking to about it, and they were not concerned. And I was like, we need to talk about this. This is a real big issue that needs to be addressed.
Okay. When you mentioned on the board of the city, Mrs. Clark, what was the makeup of the commissioners on the board? Are there five, seven, or nine?
So there is four commissioners and a mayor. Currently, we have our mayor who is currently sitting there. We have a Hispanic, which is Jacqueline Guzman, and we also have a Black Jamaican that is currently a commissioner who is Mark Guzman, and the rest of the commissioners are Caucasian.
Okay, so okay, that's very good. That we have a backup. What do you think you want to bring besides speaking with your friends, the overall change that you want to do as far as are there some policies that you think of bringing to the city that can change? You just spoke about housing. As we know, the market of housing is, top of the roof, the insurance, and the taxes. What are your goals for the city of Sunrise?
So my goal about that is to create a grant where homeowners, current homeowners, will be able to withdraw from, right? And they could possibly pay it back as well, so we could share the wealth through it. But with the increase that is happening and the changes that are happening to homeowners that are living in condominium associations, that they're going to have reserves. Those are extra money that individuals were not necessarily just sitting in their bank accounts ready to withdraw from. So we need to create some sort of avenue in which they can have a grant where the city can help them in order for them to be able to sustain and live in their homes so that we don't have homelessness. I also think about a small business grant as well, because when I talked about the East and I said that there's a lot of mom and pop shops, as you go down the list, you realize that there are some basic essential things that are needed to develop the mom and pop shops, meaning that they need a spruce of paint, they need an area where they can plant some beautiful trees. They need things that may not necessarily be tied into when they were opening a business, right? They didn't think about all these other essential things that are going to come about in terms of maintenance. And so they need some sort of assistance in that area. So I also think that there is a grant that needed to be put aside specifically for those individuals as well. I do think that the city does offer quite a bit of um, programs, and some of them are effective and some of them are not. And so I believe that we need to have an oversight committee advisory board, and that would be to look at what is working in our system, in our city, and what is not working in our city, and how can we get the information out to the community, to the people who are really in need of it. So I believe that is something that is crucial. That group will look at the city current grants. How can we reach the individuals? Look at the audience, the programs that are effective in our community, and what else programs that are needed in order to sustain the viability of our community. And then there are safety concerns, right? So there is also, we need to have some more traffic lights. We need to have some more speed meters that are involved in our city. We need to increase patrol within our city as well. Those are things that are all issues that are drastically needed at certain parts in our city that really needs to be addressed.
Well, noticing, speaking of Sunrise comparing to other city, neighboring city, is very rich. It's you would say it's more beautiful than others, as you mentioned, as far as having advisory board to see the things that are working and things that are not working. When you mentioned the mom and pops, and which is the bread of especially the economic development of the country,
Mhm.
the small businesses. You did mention as far as grants are concerned, and I can understand the requirement sometimes when people are getting grants could be sometime overwhelmed when we're talking about mom and pops. What are you planning to do as far as the education and bringing those word to the mom and pops for them to really get the benefit of the grant? Sometimes, when we talk about mom and pop, not all mom and pops have college degrees, and we have to get to their level. So for them to grab the additional money, as you mentioned, that is needed to beautifulize, to make the city more appealing, as you described a while ago. What are your plans on doing that? And at the same time, what is the boundary of Sunrise?
So Sunrise is a bit complicated in terms of boundaries because it's a bit crossed. So there's some parts in Davie, there's some parts in Weston that is considered Sunrise. Sunrise starts on Sunrise Boulevard and Sunset Strip, and it goes all the way down to Oakland Park, and then it continues all the way onto Sawgrass Express. So it's a there's a lot of boundary areas within the city of Sunrise. As it relates to helping the small businesses, right? So education is key. Um, the city of Sunrise does have a small business academy that I recently attended, and it does offer quite a bit of information that is very helpful and resources that the small business owners can utilize. Um, Unfortunately, I don't think it's also widely advertised for individuals to actually join. But I think it's very important that they have the opportunity to sit through some sort of educational process. Because sometimes what happens is that they don't know how to balance their managing operational budget, right? And that is crucial to the success of any business. Factoring things that may not necessarily happen on day one of opening a store, but then you decide that when you have a brick and mortar, there is going to be a roof fixture that's going to happen. There's going to be painting that's going to be happening. Staff that you thought of today, who's going to be with you forever, is going to just walk out and leave you. These are factors that um, that is not necessarily thought about, and so that is not a part of their operational budget on a yearly revolving. And so we need to be able to educate the individuals about that. They also need to be able to know that they need to apply for a city license and a county license as well, so that their business can be seen when it comes on time for having grants. And those are sometimes things that are not necessarily talked about as much with the business owners, or being able to have it for a long standing period is not just to have it the day that you're opening. You need to have it continuously every year to be renewed, to be considered to be a viable business.
The city of Sunrise has a big tax base, if I may say so. As Olivier was saying earlier, you have East Sunrise is, I could say, is it's a rich part of town. The beach side, when talking about in the area of Las Solas and areas like that. So we have quite a rich neighborhood over there. On the west side, we have the big houses, the major developments, the chain stores. Now in the middle, that's what I'm worried about. Where like around I-95, we have lots of communities that are not really taken care of. And I would like to know, as a Caribbean, as somebody who's looking at taking some type of role in leadership in the city of Sunrise, uh, what kind of changes will you bring for the Caribbean population, for Jamaican businesses, for Haitian businesses? We talk about education, we talk about uh, saying what's available to them, but what are you prepared to propose in terms of access to small business loans, to grants, to renovations? There are so many things that businesses need assistance with employees. Not all of it has to be grants, not all of it has to be giveaways, but there could be some kind of partnership with the city that can help those communities.
Agreed. But those areas that you're talking about is not the city of Sunrise. So those that particular border that you're talking about is Fort Lauderdale. The city of Sunrise starts on Sunrise Boulevard and Sunset Strip, which is west of the Turnpike. So that's where
Okay.
the city of Sunrise starts from. The other areas, the in between that is Lauderdale, all the way down to where it reaches crossover I-95, and then it becomes City of Fort Lauderdale. So those are different areas. But in as it relates to small businesses and in the Caribbean community, we do have the opportunity to educate. I think that's where we're lacking mostly in our businesses, is that we are not teaming up with each other and we're not educating each other, right? I think that that's where the most help is going to be effective, is understanding what made your business successful and how can I manage that, market that, and utilize it in my business so it can become as successful. And so we do need to have the opportunity where we can group together and utilize the strength from each other in order for us to be successful. One of the things with us as Caribbean, sometimes we tend to be silo as our businesses are growing, and we tend to
Mhm.
not share what is useful and effective. If we can be utilizing our strength together, we can be more powerful and we can be more impactful in what we're doing and show that we are united as a community. And so I think that's where we need to really focus on, is being able to share what is important, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and how can we utilize that together to make our businesses successful and strong.
Mrs. Clark, you are hitting the nail exactly on the head with the hammer, because this is what we really lack. Outreach, because the city may have very nice and good program, useful program for the small businesses, but as you mentioned earlier, this information is not advertised enough. So we need more outreach. What do you think about the role that the Chamber of Commerce should play? And secondly, you may have you may have excellent idea, outstanding ideas. But once you are elected, you're sitting there with other commissioners. Who are the power brokers? Who can make the decision and say, okay, we're going to have outreach to these less served communities, especially when you exit I-95 on Sunrise Boulevard, those communities close to I-95. So what we will have, will you have enough clout, enough power to be able to design program, put together programs that are helpful to those small, to these clusters of small businesses?
So again, the area that you're specifically talking about is not necessarily in the city of Sunrise, but what I do know for a fact is this. I used to be the cross chair for a group that I have in the organization that I worked in, and what that group was pulling together individuals from different walks of departments, different roles within the department, and being able to pull them together to work on a specific project where it can be beneficial for everyone on that organization. And so, one of the things that is going to be crucial is being able to not just develop one area, but developing the entire surrounding areas, right? And so, if we can pull all the leaders together in the different cities that wants to see their city successful and to strive come together and say, hey, let us work together and see what can be done to pull up all the other businesses that are falling apart. But the key here is that the business owners have to be the ones who are responsible for participating. Many times there's a lot of programs out there and nobody's really looking for them, right? And when it does fall in our lap, sometimes we are very shy or timid and we don't want to actually being able to be a part of it. And so it's going to be our responsibility to ensure that one, we're promoting it, right? Two, that we are really taking the ownership of saying this is the steps that you need and a follow-up process to make sure that the business owners are successful as what they do. So we have to not just have the information, we have to make sure that it gets to the right person. And then we have to also follow up on it to make sure that they're implementing what we say that needs to happen. And but it's going to take everybody. You can't just be the commissioners who is going to do it, right? It's going to have to be everyone who's being able to know that this is out there, this is needed, and that's something that we need to actually promote together positively. Because sometimes we don't promote it positively, and so individuals don't gravitate to the information.
The first part of the question had to do with the, do you see any special impactful role that the Chamber of Commerce's could play, and the faith leaders could play as well, the religious leaders? Do you see any special?
Well, I do. The Chambers of Commerce is a very good resources, right? Because it's probably going to be like a one time you have all these different businesses together into one room, and that they have all these different persons that say, hey, this is what I do. You can reach out to me at any particular time, and that we can actually work together. And so I think that is going to be our effective resources for any business owner, especially small business owner who wants to learn more about businesses, surrounding businesses within the community, and how to make them successful. I think that is a key role in any city that every small business owner needs to join. I think also leaders in churches is also important because they're the ones who have a congregation every Sunday morning. That's another place that you can get just random individuals all coming together on one accord to, promote their faith. And so I think that those leaders as well has the ability to promote small businesses, right? So promote them in a positive manner to gain followers.
Well, Mrs. Clark, as you're speaking of faith leaders, there's also a cultural aspect around, the diversity that exists in the city of Sunrise. What are your plans as far as culture? As you know, the city has Jamaican, Haitians, different ethnicity, as you mentioned yourself, the Spanish groups. Could be some other Caribbean types to have. What are your plans on the cultural aspect? My former friend, I would say, the late Dr. Patrick Jackson, I remember he did something for Dr. Martin Luther King at the time. And that's how I first kind of noticed the city of Sunrise in their auditorium. And that was my first time going there. So, do you have any plans for cultural wise for the diversity that you have in the city of Sunrise?
Yeah, so currently, for the East Sunrise Residents Association, we do have, during the month of Black History Month, we do have like a Caribbean scale of different activities that we do. We do highlight individuals, we talk about the past and we talk about the future, not necessarily just focus on the well-known leaders, but also the lesser known ones, right, that have fought and paved our way throughout the Caribbean. But I also think we need to have like fun activities as well, where we can highlight the customs and the food and the uniqueness that we have within our culture, right? So we have a large population of Indian, we have a Guyanese, we have a lot of Caribbean. Puerto Rico, we have a lot of different groups within our city, and so being able to highlight what is unique to them, I think is important. And not just during the traditional February or, during their Independence Day, but highlight it throughout the year, especially when it comes on to their individual celebration. Like this weekend is Jamaican independence. And so, there's a lot of Jamaican activities that's going on. When it's Haitian activities, a lot of activities that goes on. But I would like to see more dispersed throughout the year. So it doesn't wait until like a day or a month or a week to just have it highlight, but it's something that needs to be represented at all times as we are currently living in the US and we are celebrating the US cultures.
Well, that's good to know because I noticed that they have a good sport complex in the city of Sunrise. I would hope there would be one of your project of promoting the soccer because they do have. I know the Jamaican they like crickets and the Guyanese they like crickets, but it
Well,
seems to
there's
be
soccer played a lot in the city of Sunrise. There are a lot of leagues in that at that sports complex, but there's also on the soccer club where it is on Pine is on Nabil and Sunset Strip. There's a lot of soccer leagues that are there as well. So yeah, it is in Sunrise, but unfortunately, like I said, it's not really promoted as well. But there is a lot that is played there.
that is very good of pointing out that the advertising is not being well presented as Mr. Harry mentioned. It needs to more need to have some more outreach, some more footwork. You would
Mhm.
say to be done in the community, in the different communities, so that people are aware of the possibilities that exist within the sunrise, and those possibilities are not for the limited few, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah.
The city of Sunrise is, I think, the 31st most populated cities in Florida, and I think we have about 952 cities. So we are a pretty strong city. I think we have about 97,000 residents in the city of Sunrise. And according
Right.
to some statistics I've seen, I don't know if they are up to date or not. Maybe you can enlighten me on that. The Hispanic community is about 34%, the Black community is about 32%, and the white community is about 25%. Now, let me ask you, in terms of the youth that we have in the city of Sunrise, in terms of enabling them to enter into business, to be business educated, do you have any plan, any projects in addressing incubators, helping those newcomers in your city to be more business oriented?
Definitely. I'm a small business owner myself. And so I do believe the power of empowering the youth to explore opportunities beyond what they normally see right now. I do think that we need to have some shared workspace as well within the city where individuals can go and they can learn different skills. The city does have like they have a area where you can have open mics for those who want to go into the community world. They have animation for those who want to learn how to make like Chinese, Japanese cartoon characters. So they do have a few areas of that sort. But once you have gotten out of just teenage years, you need to also explore more. And so I do think having those type of little sub incubators where individuals can, just focus and own in on a subject matter for a period of time with some guidance is going to be great. In Boca Raton, there is one at FAU, as you know, for you who attended FAU, across the street there is a incubator that has been successful in terms of developing strong competitive companies out of that incubator. So I think that being able to have those little small pods areas within the city will be very helpful for the youth to develop their craft and be able to become successful business owners.
Oh, yeah. What I've noticed is that candidates have a strong tendency once they become elected, they are not as present in the media as they were when they were campaigning. So can we count on you to be all over just the way you are now as a candidate to promote programs for the communities where they can hear it directly from you and to hold different forums where they could come and get those information from your office. And also, we know that down ballot candidates, that's the second part of the question, down ballot candidates have been struggling before Kamala Harris access the top of the ticket. Uh, did that ascension to the top of the ticket by Kamala Harris, by President Harris, make any difference in your campaign, especially when you are doing fund banking and canvassing?
So the first part of your question, I, I I wanted to focus on the first part, but I missed it. What is the first part again?
Okay, the strong tendencies of candidates to be omnipresent all over the media when they are campaigning, but once
Okay,
they are elected, they are
it
not
was
as
disappearing.
present as they should be to promote the programs that they were, the promises that they made during their campaigns.
All right. So to answer that particular question, my entire track record of life has been consistency. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it to the very best of my ability. And then I'm also the person who will come back and say, okay, this is the reason why this did not work, so that everyone can understand and follow through the trend as to why it wasn't successful or why when I was campaigning, it was a great idea, but to be able, while I'm sitting there, then it may not necessarily work. I am great at communicating. That is one of my strong points of letting individuals know what is happening during that particular time. My track record also speaks to the fact of consistency and commitment, right? So whenever was there an issue, I've always been the person that stood up. So in our organization that I used to work for, we it was a big organization, but we didn't have a area that we really fully reward and recognize individuals that are not necessarily the well-known individuals. And so we spent a lot of time working on that to ensure that individuals that were sometimes behind the scene were put to the forefront to be rewarded because they're the backbones of any successful business, those that are not necessarily the ones that are seen. And so I will be continuously championing the ideas that I said I was going to champion because I'm not necessarily just championing it for myself, but I'm championing it for the individuals that I said in the beginning of this that were not being taken seriously. I was bringing their cause to an issue and to the individuals who I thought were able to help, and they were not taking it seriously. And so, therefore, these issues are not necessarily just my personal issues, but these are my neighbors that I see on a daily basis. These are their issues. These are the things that will make them more sustainable in terms of happier in life. And so I'm going to continuously champion those issues continuously. And as I'm sure while I'm sitting on the commission board, there will be other issues that I will be champion as well. And I would just urge everyone to be able to, let me know what their thoughts are, what their really needs are, and so that we can champion those issues as well. And then your second question was,
Can you repeat the
This is
second question?
about the excitement for the for
Down
from
ballot,
the, yeah,
down ballot
yeah, yeah,
candidates,
yeah.
yes.
yeah.
So I'm excited that, we will have officially, she's not the first, but it's an official, person that is of Indian, of Black descent, that is going to be on the ticket. She is a female, and I love the fact that she will bring issues to femininity that is not necessarily being addressed right now. And I think that this is going to be an awesome time in the country to be united because women are nurturers, right? So we are the ones who will pull things together when times of hardship, in times of things where it is uncertain. We're the ones who would cuddle and make everything okay. And so being a person that she is on the ticket, I just think the nation is going to be pulled together. All of us are going to be pulling together to in order to make her the successful candidate come November, and to ensure that we unite the country as a whole. That has definitely sparked greatness in my campaign. While I am, phone banking, individuals are excited about the opportunities for the first in their lifetime to see this. They are excited about being able to rally around a candidate who shares their values and their needs and hear their concerns and being able to willingly to help them in an appropriate manner. So I'm excited for the United States to be able to have somebody to be able to champion around during this election season.
Well, very well said, Mrs. Latoya, because definitely all women should be excited, definitely, to have another Caribbean woman. Just she's part Indian and part Jamaican to be at the helm of the presidential ticket. So it makes us all proud, definitely, and for your campaign as well. As I mentioned earlier, it makes us proud to see a woman step up to the plate because there were times women was not allowed even to vote.
Mhm.
So now that women are being, and therefore, like as you say, will make a big change in these United States. For you as a forward-thinking leader, as Engineer James has explained to us in your bio, uh, I'm sure you want to help the unfortunate people, as you mentioned in your introductions, that are not being seen, that are not being heard, the unseen demographic, the unseen people that you want to help them kind of grab opportunities that are presented but that are not being told or are not being directed toward them. So they need to be aware of what's going on around them. Earlier, you mentioned something within the housing industry, a reserve within the condos. What were you talking about when you mentioned a reserve into the condo? I noticed condominiums, they have issues, especially what had happened in Miami a couple of years ago.
So there's a lot of new rules that are being put in place for property managers and condos association that they need to make sure that they do have a reserve fund in order to fix things that may arise. They also need to have like a 40-year inspection to make sure that the property is sustainable to anything that is going to possibly cause it to erupt, unfortunately. So there's a lot of different things, and those things are expensive. And as being able to have gone through an inspection process and seeing the cost of it, it is something that it creates a financial burden onto the owners or the individuals who are renting, because at some point you're going to have a special exception that happens, and that special assessment is going to create some increase in your payments for your monthly rent, or quarterly, or however that person or group stipulates that they would be paying it. And so that creates a financial burden for individuals who are on fixed income. And when you're on a fixed income, as buying, going out and having an extra meal is a big issue for you. You have to plan to ensure that your grandkids can come over and visit you. And so any little thing that throws off your financial um, stability creates a burden onto individuals. And so my thought process is to create some sort of way for the that the city will be able to help these individuals when they need it the most, right? Not a handout, but these are unforeseen things. This was not part of their original goal or their original agenda item that they were going to have on their budget. And so this is an unforeseen. So this would only help for unforeseen items that may arise.
And in the city of Sunrise, there are a lot of condos for the elderlies. I've
Kind of
seen quite a
55 and
bit.
older, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Today,
as we,
uh,
yes, go ahead, Engineer Jay.
uh, today the topic today that we are addressing is the economic development. How is it the backbone for our community to grow? In terms of economic development, how do you dissect that term? How do you interpret that term, economic development? Why is it that it plays such an integral part in the political power of the community and the growth of the community? How do you see economic development in general for minority communities?
So the term itself is making a conscious choice about how to utilize the resources that you have to achieve the best outcomes. And so whether it is understanding how can we reduce poverty, how can we reduce the rate of unemployment, how can we increase access to education and to healthcare, those are the things that we will primarily focus on in order for us to strengthen our community, right? So in our community, if we're specifically talking about our Black community, we have unfortunately a high rate of unemployment, right? And we also have a unfortunate high rate of education levels that are not um, high up on the standard board. And so we have to really focus on that from a very young age in getting our children engaged into activities that will help them to progress further than our parents, right? We always want to make sure the next generation is striving better than the current generation. And so by increasing access to educational resources, we'll be able to develop our community, giving them opportunities to see things beyond what they normally see. On the east side of Sunrise, there is a high population of young children that are not necessarily engaged into things that are promising throughout their entire existence. And it's primarily
Mhm.
because they don't see it. They don't see it. If you can only be something that you can see, what you can imagine, you can think of it, then you can be that. You will get enough drive to be able to strive there. And so I believe that with the new Boys and Girls Club that came on the East, if business owners, um, innovators would utilize that opportunity to come in and give a talk to the youth so that they can see something beyond what they're currently seeing, then they will be able to have opportunities to have an internship, opportunities where they can grow and be successful at that. But it really takes us as leaders, right? Us. You don't have to necessarily be a Fortune 500 company to be considered a leader, right? You can just be your own active motivator and want to see young people strive for greater and deposit onto them, become a youth counselor, be involved in those curriculums that will educate young people so that they can grow. And so we all have to take part in ensuring the stability and the growth and the future mindset of young people.
Uh, Talking about education, we know that especially in Florida with our governor, there is some action being taken against black history about slavery and all that. Uh, when it comes to Sunrise, uh, initiative that you might take to help the school system? How do you see you going to be able to overcome the barriers that are being erected by Tallahassee?
So in the school, you have to, abiding by the school rules, right? But earlier somebody talked about church leaders. How are they going to play a role in this, right? A community leaders, how are they going to play roles in this? I believe that while we can't teach it in a traditional school, I think that there's still opportunities outside of school to teach things, right? We still need to be able to ensure that there are engaging activities that will stimulate the truth telling of what really happened in our history, so that the young people may, they may come to a 3-day seminar and then they want to explore further to gravitate to the truth of what's happening. Teachers are already put into such a predicament, right? Unless there is a legislative change, I don't think anything is going to happen with the schools at this moment. But we have to be able to then be able to teach that information outside of the traditional school, so to speak.
Well, that is very well said, Mrs. Clark. And as we're going to come to a close within the next 5 minutes, I just want to take a couple of minutes just to speak to the community, the Haitian community in Creole. So don't think we saying anything. But let me do this, and probably Mr. Harry and Jim might want to join too. Yon nan bagay ke nou bezon fè communauté pa nou an kompran ke nou wè semen dernyè nou te invite ou lot moun ki te vin pale anglophone normalman et américain. Et après jodi a, nou invité c'est bien sûr Latoya Clarke et c'est ou jamaïcaine et nous c'est descendant nous-mêmes qui sorti la Caraïbe là et qui fait nous choisir moun sa on connaît si de pas des haïtiens qui courent dans zone là si des haïtiens tout nous invité mais nous voulons que nous même la communauté nous connaît les nous bral voter qui gens pour nous voter et pour qui moun pour nous voter et nous devons comprendre nous voter moun qui fait nous bien dans la communauté et nous ouais madame Clarke j'en lui parler pour aider nous-mêmes parce que il y a un pile haïtien qui dans zone sondrage là qui habitait dans sondrage là et qui doit voter c'est pas shit là seulement pour nous penser voter président les fini tout reste pour nous quitter non faut pour nous voter pour monde qui va aider nous ensemble là parce que au même qui dans city sondrage là so besoin monde qui pour aider à problème pour gagner second petit business au monde qui aider mais c'est lui même c'est bien sûr là ça va connaître si monde a rentré ou ka grand devoir mais comme ça faut pour nous participer oui faut nous pas arrêter derrière camionnette là les nous ou non monde non pas connaître qui monde ça y sous ballot là faut pour nous connaître les nous madame ça non madame la tu as pas dit ah m'entendez madame ça et c'est au monde qui chercher développer montrer nous avantages nous devons prendre que ce soit l'engrais pour petit business nous que ce soit l'aider petit monde jeune j'en parler de jeunes pour prendre avantage faut pour nous connaître monde qui a avantage donc so là nous bral prend ballot là le 3 vous comprenez is there by the way is there a primary vote Mrs. Clarke?
There's no primary. It's just November.
There's no primary.
November 5th.
November. So just wanted to make sure. But on connaît les nous bral voter. Faut pour nous connaître qui j'en a voté. Faut pour nous make sure nous voter moun pas. Nous voter moun qui aider nous. C'est pas pour nous mettre tête en opposition par contre qui ça moun nan ou pas contre. Non, faut pour nous faire recherche nous. Les nous tendre au moun là, nous mettons moun sur plateforme qui pour aider nous comprendre ça y a fait, ça y a fait. Si nous pas comprendre, nous devons arrêter nous la perspective et moun ça c'est moun qui défend intérêt communautaire caribéen.
Définitivement.
Mrs. Clarke, in the few seconds that we have left, we know that all politics are local, okay? And I congratulate Mr. Jean-Marie Olivier for his speech, if you mean, because we really need to know when we get to the ballot box how to vote. But in the few seconds, I'm sure that you have watched part of the Black Journalists Association interview with Trump, and you have heard about Project 2025. Can you, in a few seconds, give us your opinion about those two issues?
So, I mean, I was disappointed, right, with the lack of respect that was given to those journalists, right? If you are attending an event and you don't want to be there, then just don't show up. Decline the invitation altogether. But to totally disrespect them in any way, shape, or form is completely uncalled for. And I feel as if that he was either he was caught off guard or, he was not expecting to be in that type of audience, right? And so he was completely thrown off guard with what was going to happen. But, representation is important, and it's important for individuals to be in that room and see the attitude and to see the conversation and the trend of that conversation. Because sometimes you can be like, oh, maybe something else was going on. But when you're there, you have a total different experience, right?
And
And
that's
when
what
you're watching
and
it,
that's what it
that's all
is.
it's been.
That's what it is, Latoya Clarke. It was a pleasure for you to be here. We are very
Thank
happy
you.
you took the time out of your busy schedule to address the Haitian community and to talk about your project, your plans, and how we intend to work together. I tell you, have a nice day, have a beautiful weekend, and success to your campaign.
Thank you. November 5th, Latoya Clarke, seat 8.
November
Absolutely.
5th. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you to
much.
our listeners. Like channel là, subscribe dans channel là et partager channel là pour que comme ça nous capable distribuer information dans la communauté nous. Au revoir, à la semaine prochaine.
Have a good one.